The security guard found Adaeze on the floor of the executive bathroom at 3 a.m., clutching a small leather pouch in one trembling hand and muttering words that made his blood run cold. Her eyes were wide and unfocused, staring at something he couldn't see. Around her neck hung strange beads that seemed to pulse with a dark, oily light. On the mirror above the sink, someone had drawn symbols in what looked like blood. The guard stumbled backward, his radio falling from his belt. He knew what this meant. Everyone in Lagos knew stories about people who went too far for success. But he never thought he'd see it happen in his own office building. He reached for his phone, his hands shaking, not sure whether to call an ambulance, the police, or something else entirely. But let me tell you how Adaeze, the kindest woman in accounts department, ended up like this. Adaeze lived in a small apartment in Surale, a busy neighborhood in Lagos, Nigeria. Every morning, she woke up at 5 a.m. to the sound of her neighbor's rooster crowing. She would make a simple breakfast of bread and tea, then squeeze onto the crowded bus that took her to Crystal Tower, the tall glass building where she worked. For 7 years, Adaeze had been an accountant at Mama Industries. 7 long years of arriving early, staying late, and doing extra work that nobody asked her to do. She was 32 years old now, and she watched as younger people got promoted while she stayed in the same position. Her boss, Mr. Okonkwo, was a large man with a round belly who always smelled like expensive cologne. He would walk past her desk every day without even looking at her. But when Adaeze's coworker, a young man named Ton who had only worked there for 2 years, made a mistake, Mr. Okonkwo would laugh and call it a learning experience. When Adaeze made the smallest error, Mr. Okonkwo's face would turn dark with anger. Adaeze had a best friend at work named Chinyo. Chinyo worked in the HR department, and every Friday, they would eat lunch together in the small garden behind the office building. Chinyo always brought extra jollof rice for Adaeze because she knew Adaeze was saving money to help her younger brother finish university. One Friday in March, Chinyo had exciting news. "Did you hear?" she whispered, leaning close. "Mr. Okonkwo is retiring in 3 months. They are going to promote someone to take his place as finance director." Adaeze's heart jumped. Finance director. It was the position she had dreamed about since she first started working at Mama Industries. With that salary, she could move her mother out of the village into a nice house. She could pay for her brother's school fees without struggling. She could finally breathe. "I'm going to apply," Adaeze said firmly. Chinyo smiled, but there was worry in her eyes. "Just be careful, Adaeze. You know how these things work. It's not always about who deserves it most." But Adaeze felt hope burning bright in her chest. She stayed up late that night, polishing her resume until every word shone. She listed all her accomplishments, all the projects she had saved, all the money she had helped the company make. On Monday morning, she walked into Mr. Okonkwo's office with her application. Her hands only shook a little bit. Mr. Okonkwo barely glanced at the papers. "You," he said, raising one eyebrow. "Finance director." "Yes, sir," Adaeze said, standing up straight. "I believe I'm qualified." He laughed, a mean sound that made Adaeze's stomach twist. "You're a good worker, Adaeze. You do what you're told. But leadership?" He shook his head. "That requires something special. Something you don't have." Adaeze left his office with tears burning in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall until she was alone in the bathroom. 2 weeks later, she learned that 3 people had been selected for interviews. She was not one of them. Instead, the candidates were Tond, who spent half his day on his phone, a man named Emeka who had only worked there for 8 months, and Ngozi, the CEO's niece who everyone knew got hired because of family connections. That night, Adaeze sat in her small apartment and cried. She cried for all the early mornings and late nights. She cried for all the times she had chosen work over friends, over dating, over living. She cried until her head hurt and her eyes were swollen. Her phone rang. It was her mother, calling from the village. "Adaeze, my daughter," her mother's weak voice came through. "The doctor says I need surgery. It's my heart. But don't worry, we will find a way." Adaeze's blood turned to ice. Her mother's surgery would cost more money than she had saved. Much more. The kind of money a finance director would earn. After hanging up, Adaeze stared at the wall for a long time. Then she remembered something. Her grandmother, before she died, had told her stories about a woman in their village who could help people with impossible problems. People called her Mama Eko. They said she knew old magic, the kind that worked when nothing else did. Some said Mama Eko helped a barren woman have twins. Others said she helped a poor farmer win a contract with the government. But there were also dark stories, whispered warnings about the price her help demanded. Adaeze told herself she just wanted to talk to Mama Eko. Just to ask questions. Nothing more. On Saturday, she took 3 buses to reach the edge of Lagos where Mama Eko lived. The house was small and painted blue, with chickens running in the yard. Wind chimes made of bones hung from the porch, clicking together in the breeze. An old woman opened the door before Adaeze could knock. She had eyes like dark pools and skin wrinkled like old leather. "I've been waiting for you, daughter of Adaeze," Mama Eko said, though Adaeze had never told anyone she was coming. Inside, the house smelled like herbs and smoke. Strange objects filled the shelves. Dried plants, bottles of liquid in colors Adaeze had never seen, skulls of small animals, and things she couldn't identify. "You want something badly," Mama Eko said, pouring thick, dark tea into a clay cup. "Something you think you deserve but cannot get." Adaeze's mouth went dry. "How did you know?" Mama Eko smiled, showing teeth stained red from years of chewing kola nut. "I know many things. I can help you get this promotion you seek. I can make it so that nobody else will be chosen. Only you." "How?" Adaeze whispered. "Old ways. Powerful ways. But..." Mama Eko's smile faded. "Power always has a price. Are you willing to pay?" Adaeze thought of her mother's weak voice on the phone. She thought of 7 years of being ignored and dismissed. She thought of watching less qualified people climb past her again and again. "What kind of price?" she asked. Mama Eko stood and walked to a dark wooden cabinet. She pulled out a small leather pouch and a string of strange beads. "You will do exactly as I say. You will go to your office when it is empty and dark. You will draw certain symbols and speak certain words. The spirits will hear you. They will bend the minds of those who make decisions. They will make sure you get what you want." "And the price?" Adaeze asked again. "The price comes later," Mama Eko said, her eyes glittering. "After you get what you want. But you will pay it. Everyone always does." Adaeze should have left right then. She should have walked out the door and never looked back. But all she could think about was her mother lying in a hospital bed, was Mr. Okonkwo's mocking laugh, was 7 years of her life wasted. She reached out and took the leather pouch and the beads. Mama Eko spent the next hour teaching her what to do. How to draw the symbols. What words to say. When to say them. Adaeze listened, her heart pounding harder with each instruction. "You must do this on a Thursday night," Mama Eko said. "When the moon is dark. And you must do it alone. Tell no one. Not even your closest friend." Adaeze nodded, clutching the pouch so tight her fingers hurt. "One more thing," Mama Eko said as Adaeze stood to leave. "Once you start, you cannot stop. Once you speak the words, the spirits will expect you to finish. If you don't, if you get scared and run." She shook her head slowly. "The price will be much worse than anything I could tell you." Adaeze rode the buses home in silence, the leather pouch burning like hot coal in her bag. For 3 days, she tried to forget about it. She went to work. She smiled at Chinyo. She did her job. But every night, she would take out the pouch and stare at it, feeling its weight in her hands. On Wednesday, the CEO announced that interviews would happen next Monday. By Tuesday, they would choose the new finance director. On Wednesday night, Adeeze's mother called again. Her voice was weaker. The hospital was asking for money to schedule the surgery. On Thursday morning, Adeeze made her decision. That evening, she stayed late at work, hiding in the bathroom until she heard the cleaning crew leave at midnight. Then she waited another hour to be absolutely sure the building was empty. At 1 a.m., she took the elevator to the executive floor where Mr. Okonkwo's office was. Her hands shook as she used her security card to unlock the executive bathroom, a fancy room with marble sinks and gold fixtures that regular employees never got to use. She locked the door behind her. She took out the leather pouch and the beads. She put the beads around her neck, just as Mama Eko had instructed. Then she began to draw the symbols on the mirror with a piece of red chalk Mama Eko had given her. The symbols looked like nothing she had ever seen before. They twisted and curved in ways that hurt her eyes to look at. When the symbols were complete, she opened the leather pouch. Inside was a powder that smelled like rotting flowers and burning rubber. She was supposed to burn it while speaking the words Mama Eko had taught her. Adeeze lit a match. Her whole arm was shaking now. The powder caught fire, and thick, oily smoke filled the bathroom. It didn't rise up like normal smoke. Instead, it swirled around her like it was alive. She began to speak the words. They were in a language she didn't understand, but they rolled off her tongue like she had spoken them her whole life. The temperature in the bathroom dropped suddenly. Adeeze could see her breath in the air. The beads around her neck began to feel heavy, then hot, then burning cold. She kept speaking the words. The smoke grew thicker. In the corners of her vision, she thought she saw shapes moving, things with too many limbs and eyes that glowed like dying embers. The mirror began to ripple like water. The symbols she had drawn started to glow with that same dark, oily light. Adeeze spoke faster. The words came pouring out of her mouth now, and she couldn't have stopped even if she wanted to. Something else was speaking through her, using her voice for its own purposes. Then suddenly, she heard a sound that made her blood freeze. Footsteps. Someone was walking down the hall outside. The footsteps grew louder, coming closer to the bathroom door. Adeeze's voice caught in her throat, the strange words dying on her lips. The smoke swirled faster, angry now, and the shapes in the corners grew more solid, more real. The beads around her neck burned like fire against her skin. She remembered Mama Eko's warning. Once you start, you cannot stop. If you get scared and run, the price will be much worse. But someone was coming. Someone would find her here, surrounded by smoke and symbols and magic she didn't understand. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Adeeze's heart hammered so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. The doorknob turned slowly, testing, finding the door locked. Then she heard a voice, muffled through the heavy door. Hello. Is someone in there? It was Connor, the night security guard. A kind old man who always greeted her with a smile. The smoke seemed to pulse with anger. The shapes in the corners moved closer. Adeeze felt something cold wrap around her ankle, like fingers made of ice and shadow. She opened her mouth, torn between finishing the ritual and answering Connor, between the magic and her safety. The words tried to force themselves out of her throat, but fear held them back. I'm calling the building manager, Connor said through the door. If you don't answer, I'm coming in. The cold grip on her ankle tightened, pulling. Adeeze gasped and fell to her knees. The leather pouch flew from her hand, scattering the remaining powder across the white marble floor. The beads around her neck grew so hot she screamed, clawing at them, but they wouldn't come off. More shapes poured out of the smoke now, circling her like vultures. She could hear them whispering in that same strange language, angry voices demanding she finish what she started. Through the door, she heard Connor's radio crackle. "Yes, sir, someone's locked in the executive bathroom." I heard screaming. "I'm going to use the master key." "No," Adaeze thought desperately. "Not like this." She tried to stand, but the shadow hands held her down. She tried to speak, to explain, to beg, but only those ancient words would come out, tumbling from her lips against her will. She heard the key scraping in the lock. The door swung open, and Connor stood there, his flashlight beam cutting through the smoke. His eyes went wide with horror. That's when everything went dark, and Adaeze felt herself falling into a place that had no bottom. When Adaeze opened her eyes, she was lying on a cold floor. But it wasn't the bathroom floor anymore. She was somewhere else entirely. She sat up slowly, her head spinning. The beads were still around her neck, but they had stopped burning. The leather pouch was somehow back in her hand, though she remembered dropping it. She was in a vast, empty space that stretched in all directions. The ground beneath her looked like black glass, reflecting a sky that held no sun, no moon, no stars. Just an endless grey nothing. "Where am I?" she whispered, and her voice echoed back to her 1,000 times. "You are in the in-between place," a voice said behind her. Adaeze spun around and saw a woman standing there. She looked young and old at the same time. Her skin shifted colors like oil on water, and her eyes held galaxies. "Who are you?" Adaeze asked, though part of her already knew. "I am what you called. I am what you invited. I am the spirit that was supposed to help you get your promotion." The woman smiled, and her teeth were too sharp. "But you stopped the ritual before it was complete." "I didn't mean to," Adaeze said quickly. "Someone was coming, I got scared, You broke the agreement," the spirit interrupted. "Mama Eko warned you. Once started, the ritual must be finished. Now the price is different." Adaeze felt cold dread pulling in her stomach. "What price? What do you want?" The spirit circled her slowly. "In the world you left, you are unconscious on the bathroom floor. The security guard thinks you've had a mental breakdown. Soon, others will come. Doctors. Police. They will ask questions you cannot answer. They will find the symbols, the powder, the beads. Your company will fire you. Your reputation will be destroyed. Everyone will think you went crazy." "No," Adaeze breathed. "Please, no." "But," the spirit continued, "I can fix this. I can make it so that when you wake up, all evidence of the ritual is gone. Connor will remember nothing strange. You will simply have fainted from working too hard. You will get your promotion. Your mother will get her surgery. Everything you wanted will be yours." Adaeze felt a flicker of hope. "Really? You'll still help me?" "Yes," the spirit said. "But now the price is higher. Before, you would have paid with small things. Sleep. Luck. Little pieces of joy that you wouldn't even notice were missing. But because you broke the agreement, now I need something bigger." "What?" Adaeze asked, though she was afraid of the answer. The spirit's smile grew wider. 7 years. Give me 7 years of your life, and I will give you everything you want." Adaeze blinked. 7 years. You mean I'll die 7 years earlier? No, the spirit said. You will live those 7 years, but you will not remember them. 7 years will pass in the regular world, but for you, it will feel like one night of sleep. You will go to bed one evening, and wake up 7 years later. Everything will be different, but you won't know what happened in between. That's crazy, Adaeze said. 7 years. I miss my brother's graduation, my mother's recovery. I'll be 39 years old without knowing how I got there. But you will have what you want, the spirit interrupted. Your promotion. Your money. Your success. Isn't that what matters? Isn't that why you came to Mama Eko in the first place? Adaeze opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She thought about her mother in the hospital. She thought about 7 years of being dismissed and ignored at work. She thought about how tired she was of struggling, of barely surviving while others thrived. If I say no, she asked quietly. Then you wake up in the bathroom with Connor standing over you. The evidence of what you tried to do will be everywhere. Your life, as you know it, will be over. Adaeze looked down at her hands. They were shaking again, just like they had been when she first entered the bathroom. She felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Why is this so hard? She whispered. I just wanted to succeed. I just wanted to help my family. Why does it have to cost so much? The spirit knelt down beside her, and for a moment, its voice was almost kind. Because real power always costs something, child. The universe must balance. You cannot take without giving. The only question is, what are you willing to give? Adaeze closed her eyes. She thought about all the choices that had led her here. Going to Mama Eko. Taking the pouch. Starting the ritual. Each choice had seemed small at the time, but together they had brought her to this impossible moment. I need time to think, she said. Time. The spirit laughed. In this place, time doesn't work the way you understand it. In the real world, only seconds have passed since you fell. But we could talk here for what feels like hours. Days. It wouldn't matter. When you return, barely any time will have passed at all. Then let me think, Adaeze said firmly. The spirit stood and stepped back. Very well. Think. I will wait. Adaeze sat on the black glass floor and tried to sort through her tangled thoughts. Part of her wanted to accept the spirit's offer. 7 years seemed like a lot, but if she got the promotion, the money, the success, wouldn't that be worth it? Her mother would be saved. Her brother would finish school. She would finally have respect at work. But another part of her, a quieter voice, asked different questions. What kind of person would she become in those 7 years she couldn't remember? What if she did things she would be ashamed of? What if the success changed her into someone cold and cruel, like Mr. Okonkwo? And there was something else. Something Mama Eko had said that kept echoing in her mind. Everyone always pays the price. Everyone always does. Can I ask you something? Adaeze said to the spirit. Ask. Mama Eko. Did she make a deal like this once? The spirit's smile returned. Very clever, child. Yes. Mama Eko was once young and desperate, just like you. She wanted power. Knowledge. The ability to help people, and to make them pay for her help. She gave me 20 years of her life. When she woke up, she was no longer young. But she had everything she wanted. And now she uses what I gave her to bring others like you to me. Adaeze felt sick. So this is a trap. You and Mama Eko, you work together to trick people. Not a trick, the spirit said. I give exactly what I promise. Mama Eko has her power. And she's used it for 40 years since our deal. She considers it a bargain. Many do. Many. Adaeze looked up. How many people have you done this to? Hundreds. Thousands. Over centuries. Humans are always the same. Always wanting more. Always willing to pay, as long as they don't have to pay right now. Adaeze stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her mind was becoming clearer. And do they regret it? These hundreds and thousands of people. The spirit tilted its head. Some do. Some don't. Most never think about it at all. They get their success and convince themselves they earned it through hard work. They forget about me, about the deal, about the cost. Until I come to collect the final price. Final price. Adee's voice shook. You said the price was 7 years of my memory. That's the first price, the spirit said softly. The price you pay to get what you want. But there's always a final price. One day, when you're old and dying, I will come for you. And I will take something else. Something you don't even know you have yet. What? Your soul's ability to rest. When you die, you will not sleep. You will not find peace. You will become like me. A spirit that wanders, that makes deals, that feeds on the desperation of others. You will become the thing you bargain with. Adeeze felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. No. No, I won't accept that. Then refuse my offer, the spirit said simply. Wake up in that bathroom and face the consequences. Be fired. Be humiliated. Watch your mother die because you cannot afford her surgery. Live with the knowledge that you came so close to having everything, but you were too afraid to take it. The spirit's words hit Adeeze like physical blows. Each one was designed to hurt, to make her doubt, to push her toward accepting. And it was working. She could feel herself weakening, feel the temptation growing stronger. 7 years of memory for a lifetime of success. It was just memory. Just time she wouldn't recall. How bad could that really be? Then she remembered something her grandmother had told her long ago, before she died. They had been sitting under the big mango tree in the village, and her grandmother had been teaching her to shell groundnuts. Adeeze, my sunshine, her grandmother had said, success that comes too easily is like fruit that falls from the tree before it's ripe. It looks good, but when you bite into it, you find it's bitter and it makes you sick. Real success, the kind that nourishes you, that's the fruit you climb the tree to pick yourself. You might get scratched by the branches. You might fall and have to climb again. But when you finally hold that fruit in your hand, you know it's truly yours. At the time, Adeeze had just nodded, not really understanding. But now, in this strange place between worlds, her grandmother's words suddenly made perfect sense. I want to go back, Adeeze said quietly. The spirit's eyes narrowed. Back. To accept my offer. No, Adeeze said, and as she spoke, she felt strength flowing into her voice. Back to refuse it. Back to face whatever happens. Back to earn my success the right way, even if it takes longer, even if it's harder, even if I never get that promotion at all. The spirit's friendly mask dropped away, revealing something ancient and angry underneath. You're making a mistake, child. You'll lose everything. Maybe, Adeeze agreed. Or maybe I'll find something better. Something that's actually mine. She reached up and grasped the beads around her neck. They were still cold, but they no longer burned. She pulled hard, and they snapped, scattering across the black glass floor like drops of blood. I reject your deal, she said firmly. I reject all of this. Send me back now. The spirit roared, a sound like thunder and breaking glass. The black floor cracked beneath Adeeze's feet. The grey sky above began to collapse. You will regret this, the spirit screamed. You will suffer. You will fail. Maybe, Adeeze shouted back over the noise of the breaking world. But I fail as myself, not as some hollow thing you created. The floor beneath her shattered completely, and she fell again, but this time she wasn't afraid. She fell through darkness and light, through cold and heat, through sounds that might have been music or might have been screaming. And then she hit something solid. Adeeze gasped and her eyes flew open. She was lying on the marble floor of the executive bathroom. Connor was kneeling beside her, his hand on her shoulder, his face creased with worry. Miss Adeeze. Thank God. Can you hear me? She could hear him. She could see the bathroom, the mirror, the marble floor. And she could see the symbols she had drawn, still there on the mirror, still glowing faintly. The powder was scattered across the floor. The evidence of what she had tried to do was everywhere. She had been so sure the spirit would erase it all when she returned. But she had rejected the deal. So nothing was erased. Nothing was fixed. Her heart sank as she realized what this meant. Her career was over. Her reputation was destroyed. Everything the spirit had threatened would come true. But then Adaeze noticed something strange. Connor wasn't looking at the symbols. He wasn't staring at the powder on the floor. He was only looking at her, concern in his kind old eyes. "You fainted," he said gently. "I found you on the floor. You must have been working too hard again, Miss Adaeze. You work harder than anyone in this building." Adaeze sat up slowly, confused. You don't see the symbols. The powder." Connor frowned. "What symbols? What powder?" He looked around the bathroom. "I just see a clean bathroom and a hardworking woman who pushed herself too far." Adaeze looked at the mirror. The symbols were gone. She looked at the floor. The powder had vanished. Even the beads were nowhere to be seen. She touched her neck where they had hung, and felt nothing but her own skin. "I don't understand," she whispered. But deep down, she did understand. The spirit had kept its word in a twisted way. It had erased the evidence, not because she had accepted the deal, but because she had rejected it. It had given her one last gift, perhaps out of respect, perhaps out of spite. A chance to return to her normal life and pretend none of this had ever happened. Except Adaeze would remember. She would always remember. "Come on," Connor said kindly, helping her to her feet. "Let me walk you out. You should go home and rest. Maybe see a doctor tomorrow, just to be safe." Adaeze nodded numbly and let Connor guide her out of the bathroom, down the hall, into the elevator. As they rode down to the ground floor, she caught her reflection in the elevator's mirrors. She looked the same as always. Tired. Underpaid. Overlooked. But there was something different in her eyes now. Something harder. Something that had seen too much. When they reached the lobby, Connor walked her to the door. "Miss Adaeze," he said softly, "I know it's not my place to say, but you're worth more than this job. Worth more than any promotion. Don't lose yourself trying to prove that to people who will never see it." Adaeze felt tears burning in her eyes again, but this time they were different tears. "Thank you, Connor." She walked out into the Lagos night. The air was thick and warm, full of the sounds of a city that never quite slept. Car horns. Distant music. Someone shouting in Yoruba. The smell of suya grilling at a late-night stand. Adaeze walked to the bus stop and sat down on the metal bench. She pulled out her phone and stared at it for a long moment. Then she made a decision. She opened her email and began typing. "Dear Mr. Okonkwo, I am writing to withdraw my application for the finance director position. Furthermore, I am giving my 2 weeks' notice. My last day will be..." She paused, her finger hovering over the screen. Was she really doing this? Quitting without another job lined up? With her mother needing surgery? With her brother's school fees unpaid? It was crazy. It was irresponsible. It was financial suicide. But Adaeze remembered the spirit's words. "You will become the thing you bargained with." She didn't want to become Mr. Okonkwo, succeeding by making others feel small. She didn't want to become Mama Eko, trading in others' desperation. She didn't want to become that spirit, forever hungry, forever empty, forever feeding on human weakness. She wanted to be herself. Even if herself was struggling and scared and uncertain. She finished typing the email and hit send before she could change her mind. Then she called her mother. "Mama," she said when her mother answered, her voice groggy with sleep. "Mama, I need to tell you something. I don't have the money for your surgery yet. But I'm going to get it. The right way. By working and saving and maybe asking for help from people who care about us. It's going to take longer than I wanted. But I promise you, we'll find a way. Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My daughter, I am already proud of you. Surgery or no surgery, sick or well, I am proud of who you are. Don't sell your soul for my body. My body is old and wearing out. But your soul, that needs to last you a whole lifetime." Adi smiled through her tears. "I love you, Mama. I love you too, my sunshine." After hanging up, Adi sat at the bus stop for a while longer, watching the nightlife of Lagos flow around her. She thought about all the decisions she had made that brought her to this moment. Some of them had been wrong. Some had been very wrong. But this last decision, rejecting the spirit offer, refusing to trade pieces of herself for success, that one felt right. The bus finally came, rumbling and belching exhaust. Adi climbed aboard and found a seat by the window. As they drove through the city, she pulled out her phone again and started searching for job openings at other companies. She also searched for free legal aid clinics that might help her negotiate with the hospital about her mother's surgery payment plan. She found a message board where people shared resources for paying medical bills. She discovered a charity that helped families in situations like hers. The solutions weren't perfect. They weren't immediate. They wouldn't give her everything she wanted right now. But they were real. They were honest. They were hers. When Adi finally got home to her small apartment in Suraleh, it was almost 5 a.m. The neighbor's rooster would start crowing soon. She changed into her nightgown and lay down on her bed, exhausted in ways that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. She expected to toss and turn, worried about the future, terrified of what she had just done. Instead, she fell asleep almost immediately, and for the first time in weeks, she had no nightmares at all. She slept deeply and peacefully, like a child who knows she is loved and safe. When she woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming through her window. She could hear the sounds of her neighborhood waking up. Children laughing. Market women calling out their goods. Life continuing as it always had. Adi got out of bed and looked at herself in the small mirror hanging on her wall. She saw a woman who had made mistakes but had also made the right choice when it mattered most. A woman who would have to start over but who still had herself intact. And somewhere deep in her reflection, where the light hit the mirror just right, Adi could have sworn she saw her grandmother smiling back at her from beyond death, nodding with approval, her face full of pride for the granddaughter who had climbed down from the wrong tree before eating the bitter fruit.